I'm Charlotte Holloman, and I've been asked to give what information I have on my relationship with a dear friend, but a very fine black woman composer, Margaret Barnes. So, I first, of course, would like to say that our relationship lasted at least 20 years. And she was living in New York, but I did not meet her at first. I was in New York studying at Columbia University on my master's, and I had a friend who was living at the International House with me where I was staying. Her name was Anne Doremus. And Anne had impressed me terribly as a musician, and also impressed, I would say, 80% of the house, the members of the International House. She gave recitals, which they attended, but she also was asked to perform on very informal circumstances. We had what was known as a canteen in the International House. If she showed her face anywhere near, the first thing they did was ask her to perform. And of course she loved, and the major request, believe it or not, was Debussy's Clair de Lune, which she played absolutely magnificent. I haven't heard anybody ever play it any better. And I think she got a lot of it from her teacher, who was a very famous pianist at that point. He had a very large family. He had a wife who was a pianist. He had a son and a daughter who were pianists. And he was from Paris, France. His name was Robert Casadio. Anne was given scholarships by him. When he taught in Paris and stayed 6 months, she went. When he taught in New York and stayed in New York, she stayed in New York. And in many instances, after I graduated from Columbia, Anne came and stayed with me in my apartment. So we had some interesting experiences. Number one, we needed a piano. I only had a two-room apartment with a kitchenette. And we were on the top floor of what's known as the Dunbar Apartments in Harlem. We could not get a piano to come up and open and come through. The window was too small. Finally, we shopped around. We ended up with a 66-key piano, which finally she was able to practice a little bit, but with disastrous results. She would perform things on the piano and then transpose them down an octave when she had to go up too high. And she did that at two of her lessons. And of course her teacher blew up. He didn't understand. And she finally had to explain to him what was happening. So he said, well, we will have to arrange for you to work somewhere else. So, of course, we became very good friends. Living with me, she's moving in and out. She would come in New York. Have you got a place in your apartment? And I said, well, I'll try to see. So we did. We worked it out. I was married at this point, and my husband was in the Army. So he wasn't always there. So when he was in the Army, she could come to the apartment. All right, now let's see. She explained to me, of course, that Margaret was her teacher when she was in her teens. Margaret apparently had some very illustrious students. Also, one of them, not only being Anne, was Ned Rora, who was an American composer. And he was another teenager she taught piano to. And of course, she had such wonderful relationships that she actually knew many, many people. Well, when she came to New York, when I was in Columbia.
Sorry, let me stop you. I'm so sorry. Can we go back? Because I didn't even realize my phone was still on. That's terrible.
Cut mine off.
I should have done that the minute I walked in the door. Wow.